Sam has played a couple of hours of Hogwarts Legacy, and we might as well start at the start of the game that most people are going to be interested in as well. It's the character creator.
Yeah, it's genuinely amazing. What is amazing about it is that it's really inclusive. You basically pick like a sort of, you can pick a preset character, but then from there you can basically pick a face type which you like, and then you can, whack some glasses on it. The range of skin colors is pretty wide as well, because games tend to do black skin tones pretty badly, but at least there's a nice range of options here. You can whack some Harry Potter glasses on if you want to, but then from there it's just a case of choosing your hair type. There's 2 different voices to choose from, one feminine and one masculine, but then you can choose the pitch of those voices as well, which is really inclusive. And the only thing that kind of you have to choose in terms of a gender is whether you want to be in the wizards or the witches dormitory.
Okay, great.
But apart from that, it's all mix and change.
And like choosing a voice type or a template doesn't force you into the witches or wizards.
As far as I could tell from what I did play, all of the language is non-gendered as well. So they just say like, student or wizard or, like...
It also doesn't seem too in-depth. Some of the character creators where you're like, cheekbone height, and you're just like,
yeah.
do I do that in my life?
There's quite a nice range of face styles, but I guess, it's not quite as intricate as some of the others.
You can have a grizzled 13-year-old that's got a variety of scars.
There's like a burn marky one on the face as well. And
a couple of dragon swipes.
None of the Harry Potter markings though, which I guess you'd hope not. But yeah, it's really inclusive, which I think is incredibly important, particularly because of the conversations around this game and obviously its creator. So this is fantastic in terms of representation for the fan base.
Okay, so this is the part where you can also select your difficulty, but also, as you mentioned, you have 2 voices.
Yeah.
But then you can tweak the tone of it.
Yeah, the pitch, which is great.
And then the dormitory, and then that's it.
Yeah, and then you're off. And then they kind of dropped us into exploring a little bit of the outside of Hogwarts. We got on our broom, took a look at the Quidditch pitch, because obviously you can't play Quidditch in the game, which is, I think, something that's going to annoy some people, particularly me.
When there is a pitch.
It's like right there.
And you'll give them the broom straight away?
Well,
or when you had it?
When I had it, I had the broom, but I think it was like, I was like level 4, so it must have been fairly early on into the game. So yeah, we got to explore a little bit of the grounds, and then we got to go inside and go into the library and the herbology classes. And the attention to detail is amazing. Like, it's full of those little wonder moments that you'd kind of hope for when walking around. Like, obviously all of the paintings are, moving around and coming to life, and
the little things that you see in the films that are kind of in the background that really flesh out the world. Yeah. That are just these little touches.
And it's just, and it genuinely feels absolutely massive. Like when we were allowed to go
really?
We got to go to like there's like a dueling club. So we got to try the first few sort of interactions of that side quest. Or that, I guess there are other clubs that you can join. And that was like just walking through the school. It's just like, I have no idea where I am.
Hogwarts is big.
Huge,
Hogwarts is big, but you could completely understand for them if it's like they kind of gated you off certain areas.
Yeah, because I guess it's like they also kind of want to protect the mystery and stuff. Because it was just like, oh, don't go through that door, don't interact with that plant pot, because they want to keep a lot of the spoilers.
It was massive.
Yeah, I still got a really good sense of scale, and just how beautiful the world is as well when you like fly up on your broom and you're like, oh wow, this is exactly how I'd imagined it was.
So you can just kind of go, oh, I need to go over there. You go up,
straight up,
straight over.
And it's like, it's quite pacey, the broom as well. And they're trying to control how you're going. You're like, whoa, I feel like I need some practice on this, because it's quite nippy.
Oh no, that makes it even worse. They haven't put Quidditch in it, because that would make it much more interesting if you're kind of like flying all over the place.
Maybe they're going to put it in as DLC or something. Come on. But yeah, so it does look phenomenal. And then later on, we started this quest, which is a quest with a companion. I guess you would choose who came on this quest with you, maybe, but Poppy seems very upset about the fact that there are poachers in the area, and you find out that people are stealing dragons to start a secret dragon fight club. So this is this whole mission, and it gave us a good sense of like, these little mushrooms that are bouncing up were like collectibles.
I also like the fact that they're not going too twee and childish with like the fact that they're talking about a dragon fight club.
Yeah.
Like they're like, okay, cool. And I know they've talked about it's like dark and edgy, but the fact that like that, even just showing that mission is the end goal is interesting. And then there's a stag getting pulled into the
it was quite, this whole bit was quite bleak, especially because it's sort of like, cold and wintry as well. And I think, what's always been good about the Harry Potter books is they've never really shied away from adult themes. I think this game is going to do the same thing as well. Obviously, you still got to remember that these are children doing all of this stuff, but
it looks amazing.
It genuinely does. Like this, I think this is like pre, day one patch and all of that kind of stuff. So there was a few sort of glitches, but mostly it's loading screen free from what I was like wandering around the school. There might be like a small pause as you go through some of the doors, but it's vast. But I think the thing that's going to make or break this game is the combat, like, because you want to feel powerful as even as a baby witch or wizard. This bit was interesting because it was my first kind of proper foray into having all of my magic, 8 magic skills to choose from, and this is like 15 to 20 hours into the game, so obviously you would have had a lot of practice. And I was like, oh, here's like a group of poachers, I'm going to try and be stealthy, so I used like a cloaking spell to go invisible, and then it said R1 on like a barrel or something. I was like, oh, I wonder what that means, and then I picked it up and it turned out to be explosive barrel, so I just threw it at them, and suddenly it went from like me being stealthy to suddenly I was like in the middle of everything, and like I killed people. That's the bit that I find really confusing, because just like the whole of the books like have the bad spells are the bad spells, and suddenly
there's because we know that Avada Kedavra's in there, but it was very much they were teasing this idea that it was kind of like, oh, you can't always get it, but you're 15 hours in and you got just killed a bunch of poachers.
I just defeating dark wizards and stuff, and it was just like, oh, okay, this is hardcore. I'm like, what I wonder what the sort of story implications of that is, like, the thing that I would like to know is like, there's lots of dialogue choices in this, there's lots of choices about how you can approach things, if you want to go stealthy, if you want to go non-lethal, like, I wonder if that has like implications on how the game plays out.
They're teenagers at school.
Yeah, exactly.
At some point someone's going to find out.
So I'm just, killing people left, right and centre, which is just, it feels quite unusual. Maybe they're just stunned and they're just laying down for a really long time.
Yeah, but like Spider-Man games did that thing where they're like, Spider-Man doesn't kill people, technically they're webbed, and you could see that they're webbed. This, like, at the end of the day, an explosive barrel is an explosive barrel, and they could have made it so that your spells are just disarm spells and various other things. But it doesn't seem like they're going that way. So it will be interesting to see how they cover that. But it's clearly a darker game than we thought it was going to be. Yeah. And they're going to be dealing with some themes. I do like the fact that you have options in this with, I thought it was just going to be spells and combat and that kind of stuff. It's like you can go stealthy, you can go disarmed, you can you have different ways to approach missions.
And it was interesting because like a bit like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yeah. In that you have these spells in this bottom right hand corner, and if you press R2 and then up on the D-pad, there'd be 4, and then if you press R2 and then right on the D-pad, there'd be another 4. So clearly you're unlocking all of this, and eventually you'll have like 16 spells at your disposal, I assume. Yeah. But that was quite interesting because obviously I knew what some of them were, but like the way that the combat kind of works is it's kind of color coded, and that you can see like an aura around people that have got like blockers, and you're like, okay, you've got a yellow aura. Yep. I need to use a yellow spell to get rid of that and then be able to attack you. So it is quite sort of strategic, but in the heat of battle, it's also massively chaotic. You can dodge as well, and then you've got your own like protective bubble as well. And if you time that perfectly, you can also deflect spells. Right, okay, so you get like a little sort of warning glow around your own head saying that like a spell is incoming, you might want to block it. Right. But it's really fast paced, and when I got into it, I was just like, this is really cool. Like I'm chaining combos together, and at one point like L1 and R1 flashed up and I did like some sort of like finisher move. So there's clearly a lot of nuance and depth there that like, you're going to get really good at. But even in the sort of short space of time that I had with the game, I was already feeling quite cool and powerful. And I was just like, oh, actually, this is way better than I imagined it was going to be.
So the fact that you jumped in, got a bunch of spells that you hadn't been taught how to play with.
Oh yeah, and at one point I was just using Lumo all the time because I forgot which button prompts were which, and I'm just like, but yeah, so you can see that, I've been caught by someone else's attack here, and like a lot of the golem ones can also transform into like these massive things that will beat you with melee, so you've got to, and that was the aura that just came around the head as well. Yeah. So there's a lot going on. You can use R1 to pick up stuff and throw it at people. And there's a lot of height difference as well. So there's like people hiding up here where you had to sort of be aware that, see, that was a sort of warning that something was coming. But in the thick of everything, and also all of your spells have time cooldowns on them. So you have to be kind of careful that you're not using the one that you might need later on. But if you use like, what's the one where you have to raise them up?
Levitate or...
Leviarmus or whatever it's called. Then you're like, okay, I can just use my normal, just like R2 spell, just to kind of like pelt them with stuff while they're kind of held in stasis.
You can steal, one of the feats is stealing a ranger's crossbow bolt. So clearly you can also then grab stuff from other people and throw it at everybody else. This seems manic, but also very well signed, like you said. Because this is one of the biggest things that I was worried about is, in previous Harry Potter games, they have not known how to do spells. Yeah. But it seems like they've worked it out here. And even just watching you play, I can tell like, oh, okay, I need to dodge, you need to move, you need to use more of a shield. Yeah. So that's amazing that they've done that.
And you can also heal yourself as well by pressing down on the D-pads, using little potions. Yeah. But I assume this is like the baby layer of this, and like, if I was coming to this with all of the tutorials behind me, I'd be like, way more badass. But even with this basic knowledge, I was just like, I feel really powerful. I feel well equipped to kind of deal with you know, everything that's going on around you. But it's just a case of like, you just got to be constantly aware. Yeah.
This seems quite challenging.
Yeah, it was surprisingly hard. I did die once in this bit because I kept forgetting to heal. Yeah. But that's something I always do in games because I'm an idiot.
Also, you were dropped into it as well. Like,
and I think I was kind of overwhelmed by how good the combat was as well. Because I was just like, okay, if I hold those two guys up there, I can quickly get this guy who's being a right pain with all of his long range attacks, and that's just your little. Yeah, and then if he's being annoying, just bring him down towards it.
And there you go. But you're focusing on somebody else. But I also noticed as well, whoever you bring with you is helping you out at the same time. Yeah. Which is also great. I wonder, hopefully that'll play in some kind of mechanic of different companions have different benefits.
And they also said that going to classes is the way that you unlock new spells as well, and you'll have like, it wasn't called homework, but something like homework where
or feats or things. You have to defeat 20 wizards. There you go, defeat goblins.
So yeah, I assume these dueling feats, which I didn't even notice when I was playing the game, so I was so stressed, is, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of leveling up, and like we didn't even get to see like the room of requirement or anything in this as well, which is also your personal kind of study space for doing whatever you want to do. Like and I think you can use that room to then become more, like, are you going to be someone who uses herbs? Are you going to be someone who uses magic more? Are you going to be, you know, like hone in on the skills that you actually want from like the classes and stuff.
Interesting, yeah.
But yeah, so I think they want to make sure that people are encouraged to go to school as well as doing like the story, because otherwise you're going to be stuck with like your basic spells, which.
But it also means that you can choose your own play style and the things that you want to do and that kind of stuff. So along the storyline as well, obviously a lot of us are going to want to play it because it's the Harry Potter world and we recognise so much of it. Separate to the world that we already know, is what you experience with the story interesting and like well done?
Yeah, it's really interesting because like I think your character is the only one that can kind of harness this ancient magic, which seems to be that you can see things in the world that other people can't see. It seems to be like this sort of strange blue glow that you can then interact with, or the tagline that they keep using as well is like live the unwritten, which is quite interesting because they're allowing themselves to exist outside of the Harry Potter world that we know and love. It's set in the 1800s, like as you can tell by the weird little hat that I had to wear. It's, you know, it's quite sort of charming and very British, and everyone kind of speaks like, what ho, and it's very charming. Yeah. But it also means that like, you know, we're finding out a story that we haven't known before with characters. I think like you're gonna find people like nearly Headless Nick, and I heard Peeves when I was like running around Hogwarts. So I think there are going to be characters, and like there was a mention of a Professor Weasley. So clearly there are connections to the world. But
it gives them enough license that a whole storyline, an epic storyline can happen, and it can just, because it's 200 years beforehand, it will never have turned up in the Harry Potter universe. So they can just do what they want. It'll be interesting to see
like which bits exist at this point. Like I saw like the flu powder is the way that you can like teleport yourself between different places. So it'll be interesting to see how much of the world that we know is still, well, exists at this point in time. Whereas, you know, I think there are going to be things that we don't know about as well, which will be quite exciting. But
at the end of the day, as long as there are dragons in it,
there's dragons.
That always makes it interesting.
And there's a cat that you can pet, so life is complete. But yeah, like I think that my only worry is that this is quite a guided tour. Like I'm really excited to see what the combat does as you start to master it, but also like how the story plays out. I think there's some concerns around like how the Goblin Uprising is going to kind of be dealt with, because obviously it's kind of laced in different undertones and overtones and stuff. So, but what I've seen is really good, and because it was only kind of guided segments and 2 sort of narrative elements, it's hard to get a sense of how well the story's going to be told overall. But from what I've seen so far,
very promising.
I'm really excited.
All those guys just died.
Yep, just got flambéed. So,
wow.
Yeah, it doesn't mess around with the whole killing thing. So it'll be very interesting to see how it feels like a very much more mature approach to Magic than, like, I guess the more law-abiding that we know of the modern day universe.
Kids friendly.
Yeah, this is much more like, you can just explode someone. Like, what?
Who needs the killing curse when you can just pop him into 2 bits?
So yeah, if there's going to be like...
They're clearly trying.
Yeah.
They're really reaching and they're doing something different. It's very interesting. It looks like...
And it looks great. Like,
it does look really good.
And this is on PS5 as well, so it's not even like, PC dialed all the way up to 100,000%. So
this is what most people are going to be experiencing.
Yeah.
And when does it come out?
So it's coming out on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X on Feb 10th, and then the last gen versions and Switch have been delayed to like April. Don't quote me on the dates.
I would be very interested to see.
Point.
I'd be very interested to see the Switch port.
I guess it's going to be a cloud version rather than natively running, because it's genuinely massive. Like, I can't believe how, like, even for the sense of scale from the little bit I've played was just like, oh yeah, this is going to be huge, and like flying pages of
I will buy you lunch if this ever comes out on Switch. Like, not even cloud, just if it comes out in any form, not on any form, but like as it will become as a card game. This is not coming out on Switch. Anyway,
I mean, it's too pretty.
Stay tuned for when it doesn't come out on Switch. But for everything else PS5 related, we're going to have the review, probably have some guides, maybe even have another preview beforehand. We've got some other videos on the website and on the YouTube channel. We've got some of the character creator in more depth, showing some of that, some more exploration gameplay, and some more of this battling as well. So subscribe and like and comment below to let us know what you're most excited for when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy.
Thanks.